Hey, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I know it's super early for some people, but I wanted to jump on here. I am clearly okay. I wanted to jump on here as I was just thinking about just being consistent and things that come up during my conversations and during my day. And I wanted to talk to you about the pain of parental alienation. Now, I know people on these parental alienation pages have. Um, Lots of information and lots of statistics, but I just want to talk to you from just a straightforward level about where you are if you were an alienated child. And let me add the proper vernacular and language for everybody listening, because what we don't realize too often. um hey, holy, I don't even know what you're saying there. But I want to be clear. um I'm going to define alienation for you, but for my Black family out here, parental alienation is a level of my baby mama won't let me see my children. So if you were in that situation, more than likely you were alienated. Um, that becomes a real conversation that needs to meld together. We have not bridged the gap of language. Oh, good morning. That's what that means. Thank you. We have not bridged the gap between language of different cultures. So, for my Black family, parental alienation is just code word, or I guess the psychological terminology for my baby mama won't let me see my kids. And so if you were a child raised in a situation where your mother didn't allow your father to have time with you, which you may or may not know, that you may think your dad didn't want to see you, who knows. We're going to get into that just a little bit. I'm not going to be on here long today, but I wanted to have that conversation with you. I did look up alienation just for my personal. I love looking at words. Many of you know that. Oh, I did not introduce myself. I am Dr. Tori J. Evans Barton. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. If you are watching this in replay, please, 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 please put replay in there. This is for people who watch it afterwards. If you are watching now, I want you to share this out. I want you to share this out to different groups that you are a part of. I will share it out to different groups I'm a part of. I should do that even right now as I'm on here. I need to turn my phone down though. But I want to have this talk really quickly because I had an amazing conversation with a young lady yesterday. It's remarkable how um, those who do this work, they have shared history in the work that they do. I want to read to you what alienation, the definition of alienation. Um, so often we just think of it in one way. I want us to think of it in multiple ways. Hold on, I'm going to share it to some of my groups. Mm-mm-mm. I don't typically do this, but I'm going to do this today. Share to a page. Okay. So, alienation, when I looked it up in one of my favorite dictionaries, Webster's 1828 dictionary, it says a transfer of title. That was interesting. Or legal conveyance of property to another. Some of this makes you raise your eyebrow. I'm not one of those people who can raise one eyebrow. Um, the state of being alienated, a withdrawing or estrangement as of the heart or affection. This is where I want to go. I want to stick to those two, right? Isn't that interesting? See, when you look up words, it grips you differently. So, a state of a transfer of title or legal conveyance of property to another. So how are we doing this? How are we? I want to know, um, for those who have been alienated. Look at this conveyance, act of transmitting or transference of titles, estates. See, let's have that conversation really quickly. Too many people who alienate fathers, some do mothers, but we're fatherless generation, who alienate fathers see their children as property. And so, because you see your children as property, you find it okay that you can keep this child from the father and there's no consequence of that. No consequence for you anyway. And I want you to realize that There's a consequence for somebody. I do believe there's a consequence for the mother, but I need you to understand the consequence really sits on the shoulders of the children, because what you have to understand is most parents who alienate and most parents who are alienated have been alienated at some point. The term alienation makes us a collective group, makes us one group, and you've got to know that. I don't think people understand the studies that have been done on this. 50% of men, little boys, I should say, boys who've been alienated, grow up to be men who are alienated fathers. I don't know if a study's been done on mothers who alienate. I would have to see that. Someone is calling me crack of dawn, and my office ain't even open yet. Um, so I need to keep, sorry, that's the business line. Um, and so I need you to understand that alienation, although we say it's a psychological situation, right? It's We're going to get into this, the withdrawing, the estrangement, the psychological hold that it has on children, that trickles into your adult life. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. The pain of parental alienation. It doesn't stop with just the children. Once a child is alienated, I'm going to give you two ways that plays out into their adult lives, okay? Two ways. I've given you a little bit of the understanding of men and women. When a woman is alienated, she tends to alienate. And when a boy is alienated, he tends to be the one who's alienated, right? That's that is a harsh reality for many. So here's how it plays out when you are a child and you go from childhood to being alienated, or to from being a child who's alienated into alienation. Um, I want to look at number one. Obviously, there's trauma that takes place. There's trauma that takes place. And then the child who's alienated grows up to be an adult who lives in that trauma continuously. One of my amazing coaches right now, healing and trauma informed coach, that's helping me through my journey, but also helping me build something, one of my new brands. He says, and he quotes a particular person. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he says that trauma is not something that we experienced. It's something we're experiencing because it's an imprint on our soul that we're experiencing on a sensory level. Everything about us, our senses are experiencing the trauma. How we see, how we hear, the things we taste. Come on. I know we don't want to, how we feel. All of those things, and feelings aren't just here, feelings are here. And that's why when we look at the definition of alienation, it's a withdrawing or estrangement as of the heart or affection. When you are an alienated child and you step into adulthood and you're living in a trauma that's you're constantly experiencing because you haven't done the healing work, it's your heart that's constantly there. You have broken relationship after broken relationship after broken relationship. Even the relationship with your children is going to be broken in some way, even if you're involved. Hi, Dwayne, how are you? Even if you have some type of relationship with your children, you are still parenting them from that trauma. And so, although you may be active and you may be involved, my line is busy today. It is 8:30 in the morning. Hold on, y'all. Let me sign out since everybody wants to call. It's 8:30. Um, you are you are raising them from that trauma. And in raising them from that trauma, your children get a skewed or a traumatized reality of the world. You don't know it. They don't know it until they're adults and they begin to interact with other people. I know people say, well, my children have friends and my children are this. And single mothers say, my children have thriving relationships. I would want to ask the spouse. My children have great careers. Yeah, because performance is who you are. When you live in a state of trauma, you understand performance. You understand what work means. You understand a good work ethic, but your integrity is off. Broken relationship after broken relationship. You can't even get intimate because guess what we just talked about? Withdrawing or estrangement of heart or affections. Let me give this to you straight. Those who were alienated and they have a withdrawing, right, or an estrangement of heart or affections, they don't even know how to step into that as adults. The pain of parental alienation creates a lack of intimacy when you become an adult. It creates a lack of connection. You don't even know how to connect with people because you've been taught how not to. No, your mother maybe never said it, but you never witnessed the connection. You never witnessed a real relationship. You didn't even see a relationship built on love, connection, intimacy, trust. You didn't even see a healthy relationship. So then you have what is called emotional damage that you're living in. This is the pain of parental alienation going from childhood to adulthood. This is why you have to heal this stuff. Many of you are living with the pains of parental alienation in your alienation. You were alienated, and now you've repeated this pattern over and over and over and over. Come on, holy. That's deep and they don't even know it. They don't know it. They don't know it. How do we get people to know it? We have to make people aware. And that's why I'm going to get on here every day and talk to you guys about this stuff. And then what happens is, like with fatherlessness, we normalize trauma and dysfunction. Oh, everybody's fatherless. Fatherlessness is just part of it. Fatherless. We've made this thing normal. Having children outside of the confines of marriage, getting a divorce, living like this and living like that. We make this normal. Being an independent woman. Y'all, that ain't normal. This is not normal. You want to know why he can't connect to you? Go back and look at his mother. Go back and look at his father. This isn't hard. People perform when you get married. People perform when you show up until they ain't performing no more. Okay? He's calling my business line at 8:30 in the morning. Ciao, bye. And now you're going to leave. Help me, Father. People are performers, especially when there's trauma. When there's trauma, um, when there's trauma, people are guarding, they're protecting the secrets. And so when you show up, they're going to perform. And when people are unaware and they don't even know holy, they repeat the patterns because they didn't even know they needed tools not to. They just said in their hearts, you know what? I grew up in a fatherless home, but I'm going to make sure I have a home where my children love me and I'm raising my children inside the home. And then you repeat the same pattern, not knowing how not to, because you weren't given the tools, right? You weren't given the tools on how not to. I need you to understand that you have to heal this. If you do not heal the pain of your parental alienation, you will end up in that first group that I just talked about. You will end up in the group that I was talking about even before I even got into this, because I'm telling you, there's a transfer of a title that we read. There's a legal conveyance of ownership of property. Your mother feels like she owns you. And then what that creates is a loyalty bond where you feel the ownership because you feel like because of all that she's done, you can't step outside and get the healing that you need. Because even in getting the healing that you need, references back to the trauma and the pain that she caused. And so many of you stay stuck. Many of you won't even acknowledge it. Many of you keep looking around like, I know I need something. I need. But then as soon as you start feeling that, you call your mama. As soon as you start feeling, you go back to the person who traumatized you. You go back to the person who hurt you. And look, I say it all the time. Every situation with a mother is different. This is not about a blame game, but it is about accountability so that you can walk forward into what you've been called to do. Let me give you the number two, the number two scenario of the person who's walking out the pain of parental alienation. They've began to process their pain. They began the work of processing the pain and the trauma of their childhood. And when they do that, guess what they do? They use that pain to begin to heal it, and then get the tools so that they build healthy relationships and they don't repeat those patterns. They find a way to stick and stay. They find what they look at their family patterns and say, that's not what I want to be. Grab the tools that were given to them versus rejecting the tools, because people can go to therapy and in the midst of the therapy hear what the therapist says, or go to coaching, hear what the coach says, but still repeat the things that their parents say. still repeat the dysfunctional advice of the traumatizing, toxic, dysfunctional parent. Weird advice to fathers: just pay your child support and pray about it. Babies will find you when they get grown. Yeah, holy, that's the worst advice ever. My husband used to say something like that, and I would just kind of go, because he said you got to pay either way. That's true in some ways, but one of the prices you have to pay is laying down the reality that you have been painted through the control and manipulation of the alienating parent, so that you can then walk out your healing, so that maybe, just maybe, there can be a co-parenting situation where it's not some weird comment about just pay and pray about it and just pay. Somebody, you got to pay one way or another. um, some of you are paying, but you're paying a deeper price than just money. Oh, every time she texts, you jump. Every time she sends a message, you jump. Every time she calls and says something, or she uses your child, you're manipulated, you jump. That's a higher price than just paying child support. And trust me, I have been in direct contact with that situation where you just think you're paying child support and you got to pay. But what you didn't realize was you were being groomed and manipulated, and your life was being snuffed out and siphoned away so that you could be everything they wanted you to be. And you jump and you jump. Anytime they say jump, you jump. Anytime they snap their fingers, you jump. Anytime they send a text, you jump. Anytime they do you jump. That's the mission. Because anyone who's been alienated has learned the patterns of what control and manipulation will do to the man who has a child. They know how to do that. They know how to do it well. They have learned. They have learned. I knew what you meant, Holly. Yeah. People say it all the time to me when they call. Oh, I'm just wait till they turn 18. Or do you think I should just wait till they 16 and a half? Okay. If you never show that you fought for your children, um, yeah, and by that time, trust me, trauma's already been is already set in. So if your child is a certain age right now, like let's say let's say 10, I'm gonna push it out to 10, 11, 12. You need to go fight. You need to fight. As one of my attorneys told me the other day, as I'm working with a particular client who we're trying to cap it a certain way, right? And she was like, it's going to cost what it's going to cost, but we're going to work with it, right? We're not going to. And too many of you go to attorneys who um, you already paid $5,500 before you even had a court date. How that work? Um, that's just crazy. It's one of the reasons I'm really working on a lot of things that I've put off for years. Procrastination is a beast, especially over here. Um, but I have to work on these things because they're God ideas, and they're tools to help individuals who are dealing with these situations, especially how to pick amazing attorneys who can help you. I have people in my roster that they're going to cost you something, but look, you will get the results. You will get the results. That's the important part. So let me go back to what the healed person looks like. They will go get the help as they're walking through this process of how to process trauma, right? And they will use the tools that they get to build a healthy relationship. They will actually use those tools then to have empathy for their parents, but then to set up boundaries within those relationships. Too many of you have no boundaries. Your boundaries are from a place of resentment and anger. When you're from a traumatized place, especially if you recognize, let's go back to the traumatized place. If you recognize that your parent is toxic and this and that, then you said, I cut them off. That's still not it. Still from a traumatized place. Boundaries are just simply, this is what I will not tolerate if you want to be in relationship with me. If you want to be in relationship with me. And as soon as they break that, there's a consequence to pay. Okay, we're not going to talk for a period of time. Or yeah, that's a good one for me. We're not going to talk until you take your medicine. Or we're not going to talk until you go to therapy to work that out. You clearly have violated that. So now the outing or whatever it was that we were going to plan to do together, we can't do that now. That's how you've got to, because a lot of people struggle with consequences when it comes to boundaries. Like, why do you hold the consequence? You have to set a clear one. When you set the boundary, you have to say, this is the boundary I'm setting. You don't get to, how about this? There are parents who talk reckless to their children. You don't get to talk to me like that if you, um, yeah, if you talk to me like that, then there will be a time of separation, or there will be a time, or I will then limit how we talk. I will go to text messages so that then I can keep record. The consequences, and you determine what those is it one consequence and then we're done? Is it a phase of what that looks like? Right? What does that look like for you? But it has to have consequences. Otherwise, it's just an idle threat. A boundary has consequences, not to harm someone, but to protect someone from the harm and the trauma that has constantly happened to them. And then here's the other thing that I've watched. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a young lady who's working with a client of mine. And this client has done an amazing job of creating a support system. And so he has supervised visitations right now. And in having the supervised visitations, he has a therapist, he has me as a coach. Um, he has an attorney that's coming on board. He has all of these people who are surrounding him and encouraging him through this journey. And I got to talk to um, the supervisor yesterday. And in our conversation, I learned that she was an alienated child. And what's amazing about this woman is when she figured out that she was alienated as an adult, she reunites, reunifies with her father, and the stepmother is, part of their life and all of this stuff. And come to find out, the stepmother had created the company she now owns, Supervised Visitation for Fathers, and they do it from a place of empathy, from a place of it's for the children to have a relationship with their fathers. I know y'all like, well, I don't want supervised visitation. If you were going through this organization, you would. Supervised visitation, when it's asked and it's been forced upon you, is for your protection too, Dad. Because then you have someone who's keeping record, who reports back to the courts, things of that nature. So stop getting your panties in a bunch over a supervised visitation, because people lie often. And here's a way to protect yourself from a liar that gives you a consistent pattern of your behavior as well as theirs. Thank you. But in talking to her yesterday, there is a purposeful work that can come out of the pain of your alienation once it's healed. Many of you are trying to step out into purposeful work while still yet in your pain, and you can tell. And there are times when I'm on here when you can. I am healed, but I've been triggered days, and y'all can tell from my conversations that I've been triggered by somebody. Typically, it's my mama. That's something we're still working on. um, but I need you to understand that healed people move differently. Healed people operate in a different vein, and their trauma isn't leading and directing their path, but yet you are still triggered. Triggers happen. And that's something I always have to walk myself through and let myself know that this isn't a sign that you're not healed. It's a sign that you've been triggered. And now I have to get that trigger under control. That's part of my cognitive behavioral work. But I wanted to jump on here for a moment to help you understand the difference in the pain and how that manifests in your life when you have gone through parental alienation. And as Holy repeated what I said, people don't even know that the parental alienation has really happened majority of the time. Children don't know that their fathers wanted to see them and mama was blocking it. They don't know that. And then you grow up as an adult and you walk around with this pain. Well, they didn't want to come find me and they didn't want to come see me. Yesterday, I heard a story about this client, and I didn't know this about him. So if he's going to watch, he'll probably watch this later. It breaks my heart because he's not only being alienated from his son, he's being alienated from the daughter that he won custody of in the relationship years prior to his marriage. And this woman has utilized um, her wealth, yeah, and a situation that it was in poor taste and poor judgment. And he knows that. And she's utilized that as a way to keep his oldest daughter from him. And now that she's an adult, the daughter is an adult. She was 16 when this all started. Now she's 18, 19, right? About to approach 20. And she's allowed this as a situation to alienate this young lady from her father. And the father has tried to see his daughter going to her job. Then the daughter quit the job because the stepmom told her to quit the job. And then he sent her a card and gave her a card. And the supervisor watched him write the card. And she told me how he cried writing the card. He sent me a screenshot of what he put in there. And he said he was sorry because he didn't make all the best decisions. He was a single father. He didn't make all the best decisions, just like you guys as single mamas don't always make the best decisions. Give fathers room to make error. There's a difference between error and a pattern, right? There's errors that happen because of how people are raised. People don't know they have this trauma. People don't know it. They just think it's normal because we still living in the trauma. But he wrote this letter and she said he cried the whole time he wrote it. And we don't even know if the daughter ever received the card. Probably flew out the window as soon as she drove off. That's alienation, you guys. And that's what it looks like. And this young lady is walking around thinking her father wants nothing to do with her. That's the withdrawal of affection of in the heart from a situation. So my point in coming on here today is to tell you, as an adult, you begin to pay attention to some of your patterns. And you begin to ask yourself, why do I have a string of broken relationships? I got some emotional damage here. I'm not very good at intimacy and connection. There must be, I've normalized trauma and dysfunction thinking that this is normal, and it's not. I remember hearing someone say all the time that their baby mama was a master manipulator. They said that all the time when they were talking to me. Oh, she's a master manipulator. But when they were around each other, you would have never known that he thought she was a master manipulator. It's like he bowed to anything she wanted. And I recognized very soon, after especially doing this work, I recognized we attract who we are, but we also attract relationships with our parent, especially the one we're trying to get that relationship right with. And I realized the reason that the young lady that he found himself in a serious relationship with, having a child with in college, the reason he ended up with a master manipulator is because his mother's one. That's how you attracted her. Whatever, like, oh, she's horrible. She's this, she's that. But then you go to your mama's house consistently. You're at your mama's house all the time. You're at your mama's house doing this. You're at your mama's house this. You got to go over here. And people are looking at you like, because trust me when I say, people know that your mother is a master manipulator. I have received some information on certain things that I didn't even want to know about. And I was like, y'all know this and y'all have not said anything to anyone. Y'all just play this game and keep people in bondage. That's another thing. Family members will tell other people what they think about your situation or your mother or whatever, but never tell you. I got stuff in text messages on my work email. I got text messages on my business line. I got text messages in my IG. I got all types of stuff where people are talking harshly about a particular person's mother, but will never say it to their face. Never. Somebody actually said to me about someone's mother that they were a woman of the cloth who does evil things. I said, well, I don't think you can be both. Woman of the cloth is the cloak. It's the it's the covering. It's what, but you evil on the inside. What? Like, what are we talking about here, people? Yeah. And that mind control continues. Alienated children don't think for themselves. They're under mind control. And holy, that mind control continues into their adult life. Even when there's a question about their father, they'll go back to their mother to ask the question. Ain't that something? When they don't go to the father, or they don't go to the father's side, or if the father's side tells them something, they always go back to the mother as if she gonna tell them the truth. She been lying to you all this time. You think she gonna tell you the truth? Come on. It's mind control. It's manipulation. That's what it's called. It's manipulation and control. And they do it to paint a reality that isn't even real, to keep you stuck in the same trauma that I talked about the other night. But I deleted that because that was for those who were on. Got it, for Healing Tuesday. Those who were not, you missed it. It's a phenomenon. It's not. In some ways, yes. In other ways, it's not. It's evil at its root. But it's all derived from trauma. It's all derived from trauma. If you believe that your parents don't have any trauma, and therefore you don't have any trauma, you are fooling yourself and you are living in a false reality. That's fake news. We all have trauma and we all have to go about healing that trauma. So let me end with that. There's no one, none of us. I don't care what your situation looks like, but I'm speaking specifically to fatherless homes. None of you have made it out of your fatherless home and your fatherless journey unscathed. You have trauma that you must go and deal with. You must find someone who knows how to specifically deal with that. There's not many, but there are some. You must go find a therapist who knows how to deal with that. Your fatherlessness is a trauma. It is trauma at its deepest level. Fatherlessness, and I'm always gonna say these phrases, right? Fatherlessness is a mental health issue and it creates one. So if fatherlessness is that, and you grew up in a fatherless home, I need for you to not walk around with blinders on any longer and go get the help that you need. I have said something on here that is connected with you. Someone has said, yes, hey, Mercy. People are in denial. They're in denial, Mercy, though, because as Holy said a moment ago, alienated children don't think for themselves. They're under a mind control. So that mind control has kept them living in a denial, which is a reality that's been painted for them. Oh, fathers, and you guys are the worst. I'm gonna give myself 2 more minutes on here. 2 minutes. I'm gonna get to 35 minutes. You guys are the worst. Let me tell you why you're the worst. Children come to you and ask questions about the situation. And you'll say things like, well, maybe you were better off without me. Oh, your mother, she did a great job without me. Yeah, go ask your mother. Whatever that line is, you never want to disparage the mother. I'm not telling you to dog out the mother, but I'm telling you to tell your truth at a time that is age appropriate. And it has to be an age appropriate truth. Stop protecting mom. She hasn't protected you, and she's put the children in a bad situation. I've heard stories of people saying, "Oh, look at my half siblings. They're this and that, and they're horrible people, and they're not this kind of people." And you don't even take into account that they also had a mother, but you blame that on your father as if he is the common denominator. Maybe it's the mothers and the type of women that he actually attracted, because if his mother had a mental health issue and she did erratic things and had erratic behavior, I need you to understand that that you are probably going to be drawn to a woman who has mental health issues, but you think that's normal. You don't even realize she got bipolar disorder. You don't even realize that she's got personality, behavioral, what is it, borderline personality disorders. You don't even realize it. You know she's schizophrenic. You know why? Because that's the household you grew up in. You have no clue because that's normal to you. It's a normal, I'm telling you, your trauma, number one, those of you in trauma, you watching this now and you just jumped on, you got to go back and watch the replay. There's definitions given. And I talked about two particular types of people who come out of the pain of parental alienation. Hey, Teresa. Trey says, my father is doing that right now for my half brother. I hate this advice with a passion. It is horrible advice. Oh, well. There are two parents involved. Stop disparaging your father because you feel like you came out better on top. Because look at them kids over there. Whew. Well, if your daddy got 5 baby mamas and your mama the ex-wife and then he got 2 ex-wives, Maybe he just attracted a type of woman and he had his own level of trauma. And yes, he had some influence in there, but he's not the only influence. Stop throwing him completely under the bus to prop your mama up as if she was the savior of all. That is not how that works. Wow. Trey said, nah, I should have lived with my father. My God. I do believe, and see, I'm still on here. I do believe there's a point when we have to realize that sometimes children need to be raised by their mothers and get that part of them. But there's certain children that need to go and be in their father's home for a season, right? So that he can impart and he can give. But if we go back to the term alienation and how it's defined in the Webster's 1828 dictionary, it says a transfer of title or legal conveyance of property to another. It's a transfer, right? It's a transmission, a state of being alienated, a withdrawing of engagement as of the heart or affections. So the reason mama doesn't let you go live with your daddy is because that's my child. You can't take my child. No, the child is actually God's. That's a whole nother topic. However, the child belongs to both of you, in a sense. I don't even know if belong is the right word. The child was created by both of you. So the child needs both of you to become the most balanced individual they can become, right? And this is what's happened to our society. Let me show you what's happened. Fatherlessness begets fatherlessness. Fatherlessness is trauma. So if fatherlessness begets fatherlessness, then what we getting? More trauma. And then as you keep doubling and compounding that trauma, you're looking back in your family line and you're just creating trauma. You just look back and like, all that trauma. And all those people have compounded trauma. All those individuals that you look up to and you love and you this and you that, they have trauma. They have trauma. We all have trauma, people. Stop trying to run from it. My mission on here today is to get you to go get the help that you need. Go get the help you need. I like to work in tandem with therapists as a coach. So go get you a therapist. If you need a coach to help coach you through your daddy issues, I guess that's what I'm supposed to be doing on here. You can go there, go to my website and do the free assessment. Just sign up for the free assessment and we keep it moving. If I can help you, I can help you. If I can, I can. And I don't take everybody. That's not a thing. Because some people hard-headed and they don't really want the help. And I have different groups. I have a fatherhood group, I have a mixed group, and then I have an all-female group. And then I have one group that I protect with my life. So just know. Um, she said, make you laugh more. I'm almost a spitting image of my father in spirit and character, just working on the anger portion, which me and half brother both believe would have been better if we spent more time with our father. Absolutely, because that's where anger comes from, right? I read somewhere recently that anger is just your body telling you that what's happening to you is wrong. Whew, Jesus. When I said it, it hit me. When I read it the other day, it hit me. But that anger is just your body telling you what's happening to you is wrong. So when you living in anger and you raging and all of that, because people have, I talked about this before, they have that concealed anger, concealed rage. You walk around and you're like, doo-doo-doo. But boo, I can see it in your eyes. In this moment, somebody, oh, they can feel it, right? Yeah, people can see it. So I want you guys to do the work. I am going to continue to connect the dots to your pain. I'm going to continue to scratch at the surface of your pain and continue to help you see that you've got the pain. Now you can go heal it, acknowledge it, and then you can heal it. But you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. When you say in that you aren't in a position to change it. Oh, you're not in a position to change the how the situation played out? Is that what you're saying? Because you can change if what's happening to you. Oh, I think I get what you're saying because you're a child and it's being done to you. What's being done to you is wrong, and you're not in position because you're a child and you can't change it. Yeah, Trey, I get what you're saying now. Yes, yeah, because you can't fix that. Can't do anything about it. Go get the help you need. Get a therapist. If you don't have a therapist, I know quite a few. I know quite a few who are amazing at what they do. And I can work with them while working with you. You should not have a therapist and not a coach. And you shouldn't have a coach and not a therapist. It's just not a thing. I got you, Trey. It's just not a thing. A therapist is going to give you the tools. A coach is going to give you the push and the execution of how to get there. You may not like the execution because the execution may mean off with some folks' heads. However, got to look at that word two ways. Because some of you, the reason you can't execute is because you refuse to execute. Certain people that can't be in your life while you're going through your healing journey. You can't be in relationship with the people who traumatized you while walking through your healing journey. Hello? Because they're going to keep pulling you out because I said it before. I said it the other day. If you were on, you know. If you weren't, you missed it. Trey, did I say too much the other night? I had to tell my story. And I gave y'all a third. Y'all have no clue. Um, yeah. But you got to know that you got to cut those people off for a season. Give them boundaries so that while you're walking through this healing process, you're not deterred by their mind control. All right, you guys. I am Dr. Tori J. Evans Barton. I am the founder and CEO of this amazing organization called the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am your number one reunification coach in this country. We have now expanded into other parts of the world, and I'm excited because that is me doing the great commission that God has called me to do. And then I am your trauma informed coach that I'm going to help you heal this fatherless wound. And it is my job and it is my mandate and my mission and definitely the vision of the Fatherless Generation Foundation to help you connect the dots to your pain so you can go and be everything God intended you to be. All right. So you guys have an amazing week and I'll jump on again tomorrow. Okay. All right. Bye bye.